My name is Alina Vance, and I am 31 years old. 5 minutes ago, I was holding a tiny plastic fork with a piece of midnight velvet cake on it, discussing whether gold foil was too try-hard for a June wedding. Now, I'm standing alone in a boutique bakery while the owner looks at me with pity as she's trying to hide behind a clipboard. My fiancé didn't say goodbye. He didn't even look at me. He just walked out the door, and 10 seconds later, my phone vibrated. The text read, "I can't do this. You're a safe choice, Alina, but I've realized I deserve someone who actually challenges my status. Please don't make a scene. I'll send for my things." He didn't just break my heart. He tried to delete me like an old app. But what he forgot is that for 3 years, I wasn't just his safe choice. I was his silent partner, his secret weapon, and the person who kept his darkest secrets off the books. He thinks he's trading up, but by the end of this story, you'll see exactly what happens when the stable woman he underestimated decides to audit his soul. Stay with me, because the way his new life collapses isn't through a shouting match. It's through a single, perfectly timed truth that he never saw coming. Before we dive into how I dismantled his world, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you've ever been treated like a stepping stone by someone you loved, this story is for you. Let's get into the ledger of my revenge. I've lived my life by the rules of balance. I'm an insurance adjuster. My entire world is built on assessing risk, calculating value, and spotting the tiny cracks in a story that don't add up. I met Julian 3 years ago. He was a rising star in a high-end real estate firm, the kind of guy who wears suits that cost more than my first car and talks about disrupting the market. At first, we were perfect. I was calm to his storm. When he had a bad day at the office, I was the one who listened. When he was stressed about closing, I was the one who did the research he was too tired to do. I didn't mind. I thought that's what a partnership was. I was the foundation he built his success on. But looking back, the signs were there. About 6 months ago, Julian started getting invited to inner circle events. These were parties hosted by the heavy hitters, people like Mr. Sterling, the CEO of his firm. Suddenly, the way I dressed was an issue. The fact that I drove a 5-year-old sedan was an embarrassment. "Alina, honey," he'd say, checking his reflection in the hallway mirror. "Maybe don't tell them you work in insurance claims tonight. Just say you're a risk consultant." It sounds more elite. I'd laugh it off, thinking he was just ambitious. I didn't realize he wasn't just trying to change my job title. He was trying to change his entire reality, and I was the only part of his old life left. The day of the cake tasting was supposed to be the final checkoff on the wedding list. We were at Sugar and Spice, a bakery that requires a 6-month waiting list. I was happy. I felt like we had made it. Julian was unusually quiet, staring at his phone, his leg bouncing nervously. When the baker went to the back to grab the champagne samples, Julian just stood up. "I need air," he said. His voice was cold, like he was talking to a stranger asking for directions. He walked out. I thought he was having a panic attack. I followed him to the window and watched him get into his car and drive away. Then the text arrived. "You're a safe choice. I deserve someone who challenges my status." I stood there for a long time. The baker came back. She saw my face, saw the phone in my hand, and she knew. She didn't say a word, just put the champagne down. I didn't cry. Instead, I felt this strange, cold clarity. As an adjuster, when a building burns down, you don't scream at the fire. You look for the cause, and I knew exactly where Julian's status came from. It came from me. The first 48 hours were a blur of what I call the erasure. Julian didn't call. He blocked me on everything. On Monday, a courier showed up at our apartment, the apartment I had found and I had decorated with a legal letter. He wasn't even coming for his things himself. He had hired a service. He moved into a luxury condo downtown that he couldn't actually afford. I found out through mutual friends that he was already seeing someone else. Her name was Brianna. She was 24, a lifestyle influencer, and the daughter of one of the firm's biggest developers. She was the status he thought he deserved. The pain wasn't just the heartbreak. It was a humiliation. My mother called me crying because Julian had sent her a formal email, an email thanking her for her hospitality but stating that their social circles were no longer compatible. He was acting like he had just joined the royal family. I spent a week sitting in our quiet apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes. I felt small. I felt like the boring woman he said I was. I started to wonder if he was right. Maybe I was just safe. Maybe I wasn't enough. But then I had to deal with the finances. Julian and I had a joint wedding fund account. When I logged in to close it, I saw it was empty. He had drained all $15,000 of our shared savings to pay the down payment on his new bachelor pad. He left me with $14.12. That was the spark. The sadness evaporated, replaced by a white-hot, humming rage. He wanted to play the high-status game. He wanted to act like a titan of industry. Fine. But he forgot one thing. I had been doing his personal taxes and filing his expense reports for 3 years because he hated paperwork. I opened my laptop. I didn't go to social media. I went to the encrypted cloud folder where I kept backups of all our records. I started digging. And that's when I found the crack in Julian's pristine skyscraper. Julian had been padding his commissions. In real estate, there are very strict rules about how money moves. Julian had been taking consulting fees from contractors on the side, money that should have gone to the firm. It wasn't millions, but it was enough to be a felony. He was stealing from Mr. Sterling, the very man he was trying so hard to impress. Thought he was a genius. He thought he had hidden it well, but he isn't an adjuster. He doesn't know how to hide a paper trail from someone who spends 40 hours a week finding them. I didn't go to the police. Not yet. I knew how the world worked. If I just reported him, he'd get a slap on the wrist, pay a fine, and use his new girlfriend's father's connections to get a new job. No, Julian's biggest fear wasn't jail. His biggest fear was being low status. He feared being a nobody. I began my audit. I spent 3 weeks meticulously organizing every consulting fee he had taken. I matched them with the dates of the projects. I even found emails where he had coached contractors on how to label the payments so they wouldn't trigger the firm's internal alarms. While I was doing this, I watched his new life unfold online through Brianna's Instagram. They were at galas. They were on private boats. Julian looked smug. He looked like he had finally leveled up. My plan was simple, but it required nerves of steel. Mr. Sterling, the CEO, was a man of the old guard. He valued loyalty and character above all else. He was also the one who was about to promote Julian to senior partner. The announcement was set for the firm's annual Gold Gala, a black tie event where the entire city's elite would be watching. I knew I wouldn't be invited, but I also knew the person who managed the event's catering. It was the same woman from the bakery. I met with her. I told her the truth. I didn't have to beg. When she heard what he did at the cake tasting, she looked at me and said, "What do you need?" I didn't need a ticket. I needed to be a server. The week of the gala, I practiced. I didn't want him to see me coming. I wanted the moment to be surgical. I prepared a gift for Mr. Sterling. It wasn't a folder of evidence that's too easy to throw away. It was a digital lookbook of Julian's career, presented on a high-end tablet, framed as a tribute to the new senior partner. But the tribute had a hidden chapter. The night before the gala, I couldn't sleep. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. I kept thinking about that text. "You're a safe choice." I looked at the empty spot on the bed where he used to sleep and felt nothing but a cold, hard desire for balance. The ledger was about to be settled. The Gold Gala was held at the city's historic museum. The room was filled with the smell of expensive perfume and the sound of clinking crystal. I was in a tuxedo-style server's uniform, my hair tucked under a cap, a mask on my face. Julian was at the head table, sitting right next to Mr. Sterling and Brianna. He looked like he owned the world. During the main course, I moved toward Mr. Sterling. I was carrying the tablet on a silver tray. "Mr. Sterling," I whispered, pitching my voice low. "A gift from a silent supporter of Julian's. They wanted you to see his true contributions before the announcement." The CEO, a bit tipsy on expensive scotch, smiled and took the tablet. "Ah, the boy has fans, let's see." I walked away. I didn't stay to watch him scroll. I went to the kitchen, changed my clothes, and went to the parking lot. I sat in my car and waited. Inside that tablet, the tribute video played for about 60 seconds. Then it transitioned into a slideshow. Not of photos, but of bank statements. It showed the consulting fees side by side with the firm's lost revenue. It showed a photo of the $15,000 withdrawal from our wedding fund, dated the day after he dumped me. And the final slide was a screenshot of his text to me. "You're a safe choice. I deserve someone who actually challenges my status." Underneath that text, I added a single line. "If he'll steal from the woman he was going to marry, imagine what he's doing to your firm." About 20 minutes later, the museum doors swung open. Julian wasn't walking out. He was being escorted out by 2 of the firm's private security guards. He didn't have his jacket. His face was the color of spoiled milk. Behind him, Brianna was screaming, not at the guards, but at Julian. She had just realized that her rising star was actually a sinking ship, and her father's reputation was tied to him. Mr. Sterling followed them out. He didn't yell. He just stood on the stairs and watched Julian get into a taxi. The promotion was gone. His job was gone. And within an hour, the consulting fee contractors would all get calls from the firm's lawyers. But the real surprise, the part Julian didn't see coming, was what happened the next morning. Julian had signed the lease for his luxury condo using my name as a co-signer without my permission, thinking I'd never check the fine print of the digital documents he handled. I had called the leasing office days prior. I didn't just remove my name. I informed them that the primary tenant had lied on his income disclosure, which he had by inflating his base salary. By the time Julian got back to his condo that night, the locks were already being changed. He called me. For the first time in a month, his name flashed on my screen. I let it ring 5 times. Then I answered. "Elena, you have to help me. Sterling is talking about a lawsuit. I've been kicked out. Brianna's father told me if I ever contact her again, he'll have me ruined. You're the only one who knows the books. You can tell them it was an error. Please, you're so good at this stuff." I listened to him breathe. He sounded small. He sounded like a safe choice who had run out of options. "Julian," I said, my voice as flat as a dial tone. "I'm an insurance adjuster. I don't fix errors. I just determine who's at fault. Elena, please, we were going to get married." "No," I said. "You were going to use me. And now the audit is complete. Talk to my lawyer. Oh, wait, I forgot. You spent the lawyer's money on a condo you don't live in anymore." I hung up. I didn't stay in that city. I took a job in a different state, a promotion I had been offered months ago but turned down because Julian didn't want to move. I live in a house with a big garden now. It's very quiet. Sometimes I look at the news. Julian's firm didn't just fire him, they blacklisted him. Last I heard, he was back in his hometown, living in his parents' basement, working at a call center. He's no longer disrupting the market. He's just another voice on the phone, hoping someone doesn't hang up. $15,000, I never got it back. But I consider it the best risk management fee I ever paid. I lost the money, but I saved my life. Looking back, the cake tasting was the luckiest day of my life. If he hadn't walked out, I might have spent 40 years as the foundation for a man who didn't even see me. Revenge isn't always about a win. Sometimes, it's just about making sure the ledger reflects the truth. He wanted status, and I gave him exactly what his character earned him. Nothing. If you enjoyed seeing a safe choice turn into a nightmare for a narcissist, give this video a thumbs up. Have you ever been underestimated by someone who thought they were leveling up? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories where the quiet ones finally speak up. I'm Alina, and the audit is officially closed.